Hello and welcome to a Q&A with our executive producer Severlin on twitch.tv/LotroStream. I'm Lotro's community manager Cordovan, and I really appreciate everyone being here today. We're going to be hanging out for the next hour doing some general Q&A with the Lotro community. We know that there's already a lot of you in chat, so I'm not expecting number of questions to be an issue. It looks like we're currently sitting at about 200 viewers just as we go live, so I'm sure the questions will be forthcoming. To the best of your ability, try not to spam the chat room, because it just makes it really hard to kind of keep up with things. If I have to, I'll implement like a slow mode. Hopefully I won't need to do that. I don't think we will, but we'll just kind of have to see how it goes here today. So if we need to slow things down in the chat a bit so that we can get to your questions, we will. But otherwise, feel free to ask away. I can't promise we'll be able to answer everything, but we're sure going to answer as much of it as we can for you today. So first off, let me introduce our executive producer, Severlin. How you doing, Sev?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, good. So what, tell me about recent days. What's been going on with you?
Obviously, we're all beating the heat in this area, but yeah, stuff is going well. We're working on some exciting stuff on the Lotro front, and some big update is coming for the fall that I'm sure the players will hear about. We're trying to work on some new systems that will give the players some capabilities of gaining some of the loot they're looking for that we can talk about. So there's a lot there.
So one of the things I guess we should probably say at the start is I know that there is one kind of big announcement coming soon, and that announcement is not yet ready to be discussed. Like I probably shouldn't even be saying this to some extent. But we're almost there, and so I know that there's going to be kind of one thing that we're going to kind of have to not talk about, that we'll be talking about really probably within a few. Well, I don't want to give even that much of a time frame. Shortly.
Yeah, we're having some people that will be in Germany for pretty soon to be able to speak with and maybe talk with some of our German players, because there's Gamescom and they're going to be at DevCom, and hopefully we'll be able to meet some of our players across the ocean. That would be fantastic. We're looking forward for that. And then
I know some people may have seen some things on a website related to DevCom and been like, hey, I know who those people are. And yes, we actually have some information that'll be coming with more detail about that, really just about any day now. And then we have some kind of like big plans in the fall that we're going to talk a little bit, I think, about today. But some of the big reveals of it, we have to keep under wraps for now.
Yes, we don't want to go into the theme, but basically, we have our big update in the fall. It's probably the size of War of Three Peaks, and it will focus on an alternate leveling experience that will go from 1 to 30, which is kind of exciting. So for the people who like alts but like play through the racial places a lot, you'll have a chance to kind of have a new experience that follows maybe a different take on on some of the shakers and movers, if you will.
All right. So, well, that's interesting. So there's one little bit of news, but we also related to leveling. You had mentioned that this piece of content is a lower level content, but we haven't. One of the things that's been on our mind lately a little bit is end game and end game players, and what we want to do, both kind of short, medium, and long term to make sure we give those folks a bunch of content.
Absolutely. So let's talk about some stuff. We're in a transition period because we've been hiring, and so we have a lot of new people that are kind of coming up to scale, and we're training them. So that's exciting. As a result, we're kind of in a different place than having a small core group that we have in the past. So one of the things, in my opinion, that we've kind of dropped the ball on is we had too much mid-level content and not enough end. And so in the next couple of updates, we'll be trying to deal with that. We like to, have content in the middle, but we can't have so many so that your main doesn't feel like they have anything to do. So we definitely need some endgame content. The next update will not only have some content from a lot of content from 1 to 30 that will tell a whole new story, but also we'll have a 6-man that will be endgame, and we're introducing this new thing for a small amount of content called the delving system. The delving system is going to allow you to add difficulty to endgame content, and in order to do that, you can earn rewards. Because one of the things that players have been telling our teams is that there are some types of treasures, in specific some of the LI treasures, like the traceries, that are too random. And so what we want to do is the delving system will introduce various bits of difficulty content, and as you gain rewards for that, then you can buy the traceries that you need to a certain extent. So basically, that's what we're looking for. So in the short term, we'll be seeing a 6-man for endgame. We'll be seeing missions with the beginning of the delving system. And for the first time, we're going to see a new skirmish. We haven't done that for a while. So I think that those things will be a small amount as a tidbit, and then we'll focus on endgame for the update after that, so that we'll have more landscape content in game and more 6-man content. So those would be interesting.
So going back to the delving system briefly, this is a sort of it's described a new difficulty here. So this is like a difficulty option. Kind of can we say anything about how it's going to work? Like, what is it?
Yeah, so basically when you go into certain content, for now we're going to work on having missions, right? That would be the first step, because they're small, bite-sized, and we can make sure that the scope of it is within something that the players can understand and protect. So one of the things is there'll be a new pedestal or some such, and you'll be able to take a delving stone and put it into the pedestal, and all of a sudden the content will become harder. And not all content will be able to do this, just a specific thing. So if it's a light, fluffy mission, for instance, where you're cooking pies, you probably won't be able to put the delving stone into it, because that's not the kind of content that the delving stone will add a number of difficult, twists, and then you'll be able to earn extra loot at the end. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that would be interesting. At first, we'll apply it to missions, but our goal is to find a way to apply it, for instance, to skirmishes, and add a whole new level of skirmishes and kind of resurrect that. So we'll start with one new skirmish, which won't have the delving system. The delving system for the first pass will be just on missions to clear. But in the long term, we can use this to spice up a lot of content.
All right.
So I think that there's some awesome stuff coming with the next big update. Like I said, we're looking for it to be around the size of the War of Three Peaks. We definitely have a 6-man in it planned. We have a new skirmish, which is interesting because a lot of players. I think the skirmish system has fallen behind in terms of how useful it is to players, unless you're just trying to power level. And so I'd like now. So
let's move on quickly. I'm seeing the chat room, and we've got a whole bunch of people asking about a couple of big topics. So let's maybe take a look at some of those, so that we can clear out that kind of side of the questions of chat, hopefully. So we recently did some PvMP work, and SSG Orion has been interacting with the PvMP community to work on refinements to it. Do we have any sense of what went on additional PvMP work?
I mean, it's good. PvMP work is a constant stream of content. I think that Orion enjoys it. He's loved talking with the community thus far, and I think that there's going to be a bunch of, there's been a bunch of stuff already. I think that one of the issues is that PvP is hard, and there'll be a lot of small changes as we try to rebalance and encourage the whole experience to be fun. I think we had a good start. I think there's still work to do. So yeah, but I believe that he is planning on continuing that work once we're past maybe the next big update, he can revisit.
All right. The next question, lag, fix it. Not a question. Still kind of a question. So what's up with lag, and what are we going to do about it?
So the engineers are right now going and doing a pass on lag. Yeah, we did do some fixes, and there's a couple of places that we're looking at. One is there's a system called the effect system that has a great deal to do with delivering damage, delivering conditions, going back and forth. It's basically used for everything. And there's some, over the years, it's gotten larger and larger and larger as we've done more and more and more. There's some lag fixes that we are looking at along those lines. In addition, one of the biggest sources of lag that we're working on is the quest system was never intended to have like tens of thousands of quests. And so as the time goes on, more and more the quest system has kind of grown, and that has caused people to lag. And you can see this when you do something that adds a quest or removes a quest, that the characters have grown so big that's another source that we're looking at.
So we're specifically talking about doing work with, like, say, the engineering side of the game to work through some of these issues.
Absolutely. I'm talking about what our engineers are currently looking at in order to do another pass on lag for LoTro. Now, the good news is the lag pass we did in the past reduced the amount of hitching. We can kind of see that. We still have a lot of work to do. The other problem is that some of our database cleanup code has grown stale, and we need to resurrect that and revamp it. And because of that, I think that is also causing, as the databases grow, that specific part of the code that we're trying to get up and more performant will also really help on lag. So those are the three places that we're looking in lag. We're looking at for lag. Eventually, we also want to get back to our servers are being reworked to be, on modern compilers with modern memory, and that will help. That's a longer term thing that will.
All right. So I kind of know what we should probably talk about next, although it's kind of a sensitive topic as it relates to the letter that got released yesterday. We have had, I'm going from the start of chat here, and there's a series of questions about a private server effort that recently had an announcement. We had to issue a letter in response to that. Is there anything at all we can say about that here on stream today?
So, look, I admire the enthusiasm, but we are not the only people that work with this IP. And so it's not entirely up to us what happens. And so we're in the unfortunate position that you can't, there are certain due diligence that you have to do when something like this comes. And so I'm not a lawyer. I don't want to talk about any expectations of revolving around the law, because I think that it wouldn't be good advice. But we've made a post to the forums, and there are things that we're going to need to pursue to protect the the work that people have put in to make sure that Lord of the Rings as a story, that they make sure that things don't just go out into the wild without oversight. We don't want people to damage that legacy, and so that would.
We've talked about some pretty big topics here. Let me try to clear out a bunch of the smaller ones here from chat.
Sure.
This question comes from Zeus Spawner. Do we have any plans to make larger carryalls, like carryalls that will just fit more stuff? I guess general question about, anything about our carryall plans.
We certainly can. I was not prepared. I apologize. I was not prepared to talk about carryall specific sizes, but I can look into that. And if people are looking for larger carryalls, that might be something. The nice thing about carryalls is because they generally carry items that can't be mutated, which we call singletons. Making bigger ones does not cause performance hitching. But I would have to check with. So it's certainly possible to do larger carries.
When will golf come to Lotro? This one's from Askarath. I'm putting this in there to tell you we should have golf, I guess.
I mean, new hobbies are always something that we're looking at. The problem is that new hobbies always sound cool, and it's also a thing that tends to. So you have a list of all the stuff you want to do, and new hobbies is on it, and then in the actual year when you're trying to go and you're trying to prioritize, new hobbies always seems to just fall off the bottom. So that is something that we would love to do, but I don't have any hobby-related announcements. We're hoping that the tracers become more available with the delving. Specifically, people are looking for traceries, and they feel that they can only just basically get them randomly. So the delving systems, like one of the things we're specifically looking at is, can we use that as an opportunity to allow players to pursue the traceries they want, so the system is not so random.
All right. Quick one from Electric Lotro. What about bringing Bombadil back? This person would like to see that specific server get another return.
We are definitely looking for opportunities to have kind of festival-like events, and Bombadil is a good way of doing that. It's not quite as easy as a festival because it involves bringing up a new server. In the short term, our goals for bringing up a new server is we want to create an overflow server with free transfers on and off for the fall, because if there is an influx of players, we want a place to go to them that won't lag out our server. The last time we had a big influx of players, many of the current players felt that servers couldn't handle it, so we want to make sure that we have some kind of extra server. So if we see a dramatic increase in pops, then we plan on bringing up a server with free transfers on and off that the players can move to temporarily to play with less lag, and then move off of at the end, or keep on. So I think that our focus on new server tech for the fall will be that, and then next year we can look at more like having servers for specific things like PvP type festivals. One of the things that we talked about, which is I'm definitely not announcing anything, is what if we had a Bombadil type server, but the monster players could escape from the Ettenmoors and go into the world somehow, and like how crazy would that be?
It'd be chaos. It'd be fun, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right. Zipfile, what about more epic battles? They were well designed and interesting content that provided action for all character levels.
I think that our new experiences for epic battles would be more like the war at the gate, where the player is going through in a battle-like questing area and having more of a curated experience of moving through. So the reason we went for there is we felt that there was more opportunities for storytelling rather than the big battle system, which is a complete different experience that takes you out of the core loop. And so our presentation of the larger war-like battles that happened are more go into the storytelling aspect where players play through, and less the big epic battles. So we're not planning on revisiting the epic battle system for new epic battles, for instance, in the short term.
All right. Next question. This is kind of back to lag a little bit. Darrar would like to know, they specifically see servers in the 30s and 60s as potentially being a source of problems, and will sometimes work around that to get into different server instances. Do you know specifically, because I know it came up fairly recently, what makes those servers worse? That's a pretty technical question I'm throwing at you.
That's a technical question.
Yeah.
So the way our load balancing works is an ongoing thing we're working on. And we've done recently on the DDO side, we've worked on some load balancing issues in order to spread out some of the servers, and we want to bring that back to Lotro once our engineers have a chance to talk. The thing is that if you are on a server that happens to have a RAID, then you will also lag if the RAID is lagging, because there's 12 people all doing a lot of content at the same time. In the effects system, remember how I talked about how the effects system needed to be more performant? Well, what happens is the more players you have in a single battle, the greater the effects that get distributed back and forth have to be, and it's an exponential problem. And this is why one of the things that we want to look at is the effects system, because when you have 12 people, it's not twice as much as a 6-person, because it grows exponentially. The amount of data that has to be sent between everyone grows with each person. So for that reason, we need to be careful on how we develop raids. So that's one of the reasons that I mentioned specifically how we're looking at the effects system and how we're looking at the quests, because both of those have exponential growth, and we need to rein those in order to address some of these lags.
All right. I am not immediately seeing another question to put into chat. I'm scrolling through kind of carefully here. Oh, here's a good feature request one. This one is from True Paltrix. What about custom markers for a map? Would that be hard to get implemented? Why can't we just say where we are on the map? Go ding.
Oh, you mean saying on it? I actually don't have any information on that because that wasn't something that came up. I know that our UI is not the best to work with because outside of Lua, essentially it all has to be written in C++, which is why it's harder for us to come up with quick turnarounds on UI. But that might be something that we can look at.
All right. Domestic Wolf wants to know, will we get a graphics update? What's the state of graphics for Lotro in 2022? Is there anything we could say today?
So we are currently, as announced, we are currently looking at something that will a refresh of both our graphics code and some of our actual art in game. Our goal is to take an amount of art that might be old and upgrade it so it becomes some of the best art in the game. And I can tell you that arranging a large project like that is maddeningly slow, and I apologize. And, as we go through and prepare to bring in the resources for that and go through all of the bits and pieces involved in that, from legal and organizational, it's just a slow thing. So we are working on that, and we will continue to work on that. But I'm hoping to get something to show off sooner rather than later. But it's a process. So that's.
All right. Azalea wants to know, will another producer be hired? We recently had one of our producers leave the organization here. So.
Yes, and we wish him the best of luck. I think that right now we're focused on hiring a lead content, and then we'll start working on the producer. That's our big focus right now, is to bring in more resources on the content side to get someone really senior. That is a hard role to fill, and that's what we're looking at. In the meantime, we will try to be doing, I'm thinking that quarterly letters might be a little fast, but half letters might be a little slow. So I'm thinking maybe a producer's letter every 4 months would be maybe the sweet spot. So I think that is how we're going to communicate. And in addition, I'm going to try to do more of these Ask Me Anything to give the players the idea. Also, the players will be hearing a lot more about our plans to get closer to this, to the others.
All right. Martin714, what about multi-factor authentication?
That is in the works. We are making good progress on that. But I don't have a release date because there's a lot of bits and pieces. But that is actually something that we're actively working on now. And we're getting to a point where we can probably internally alpha test it sometime relatively. But I don't actually have the the project schedule for that particular feature in front of.
All right, Tanless_DSL. Any updates to the LI reward track? So in mid-August, the current season of the reward track does come to an end. We've got the next one coming up here. So this question may be somewhat related to that. What are our short-term plans here for the LI reward track?
I mean, we want a new season. I think that we want additional rewards in there to expand what we can earn from there, so that our maybe not end game players will also see rewards on the track. I think we did a little bit of that for the last track, and for the next track we'll continue.
All right, I'm going to. I saw a couple of people ask about this, so Askareth gets a second question here. When will we see kinship updates?
Kinship updates unfortunately got dropped. It was one of the things we wanted to do in the fall, and I just didn't have the engineering resources for it, so we'll probably revisit next year.
All right. There's a lot of questions in chat. I'm trying to get to good ones.
Yeah,
here.
there's a lot of individual questions. Like I can't. It's out of scope of something like this to answer specific balance questions about classes or PvMP like the trolls. It's probably too detail oriented for this. We hope to get a raid early next year. We don't have a raid coming for the next update. It's focused on leveling experience. And it will be big, but we hope to get a raid. Now we know that there's a desire to have more raids, and in fact, we've had big discussions about raids even today. Right before this, in fact, we were in a balance and raid situation. All
right, this question from Rooney Keeper. Any news on character creation options? Things like new hair, more variety, customization?
We are working on a large amount of character customization options. Right now, I think we're focusing on humans in the field, a wider amount of character creation options. In addition, one of the things I would like to do is maybe part of the sort of art update, the remastered, will be touching upon the avatars and making them look better without making them look too different, so your character will look very different. I'd like to focus. There's a lot of things that we can focus on there, but I don't have anything to answer because we're still in the phase of evaluating everything that we're going to
do. This is a bit of a feature request as well. What about ray tracing? Any thoughts of giving Lotro ray tracing? This from Boromont.
I think that ray tracing is so performant that what I would like to do is get it, with our current performance challenges. I think that ray tracing is far off. Also, ray tracing requires such a high-end computer that it would basically focus on so few of our players that I don't think that we're planning on doing ray tracing anytime.
This is a question I need to still get a formal answer for, but Prime, or actually Ozalia here again, saying with Fate of Gundabad releasing August 10th on Honor, will there be new frames cosmetics with it, with only 20 days to complete them? Now, this question is also about the closure of Honor. On August 10th, it's getting Fate of Gundabad, and then it's closing end of the month. And we have free server transfers to any of the other non-legendary worlds that people will be able to take part in starting on August 10th. I am specifically working to get you an answer to that question about new frames and cosmetics, but my feeling is that we are not offering that for this release of Fate of Gundabad for the reason you described, which is that it gives people a pretty limited amount of time to get that stuff. But if I get an answer differently, or if I have something else that I can pass along there, we'll make sure to do that before August 10th when it releases on Honor. And we also have an article kind of coming up about the Honor transfers as well.
I think so for the producer's letter specifically, we were talking about this big update coming. It will have a lot of early game content for the players, a new opening experience that the players will be able to do, and yeah, a delving system. So there's a lot there to unpack, but I don't want to. We do plan on making specific. There will be a much more exciting announcement about the specifics of that, with art and telling you what stories you can expect and all of that. So.
Yeah, Kefir, this is a related question back to sort of the new options for character creation. Do we have a kind of a target look-see on that one?
When it's coming out?
Yeah.
It's currently in progress. I don't want to. So one of the things that we're looking at doing is as we update, we're also kind of tweaking the current necks and such to look better. So there's a lot of pieces in there. I hope to get that out this year, but with the big update coming, it might hopefully won't be released for that, but we may put it off until next year because if it's not ready, then I don't want to.
Yep. I'm scrolling through chat here.
So for Hammerfist and Gork's question, the more exciting surprise for the summer talks about the big update.
It's still summer. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're almost there in terms of being able to say a lot more, but we're not quite there yet. All right. We have lots of people encouraging us to fix PvMP. So, we did address that a little bit earlier in the chat. You could see our comments on it, but ultimately SSG, Orion, and other folks will be working on PvMP related work here in the future. And you'll see that first on Bullroar and then on Live. But they've already talked publicly about some of those plans, and you'll see more of that as it gets ready to hit Bullroar.
I would expect a legendary server at some point, but for right now, we want to make sure that we're prepared with a new server to deal with new players coming in for the next update. We'll have more information about the update for you in the future. I promised I wouldn't overtalk it, so that I would reveal the specifics to you in the coming month.
See a lot of kind of can we get like what about what are our housing thoughts? We're kind of thinking more not short term on that, right?
Yeah, longer term, we're definitely always looking for places to put in new housing with the players' request. So I think that's the case. Our customer service is now has added extra people, and we're slowly working through the queues. I believe the account queue is a little higher than I'd like. So if you have account problems, especially really hairy ones, you may still be in the queue. Our in-game has been reduced significantly, but we still have a longer wait than I'd like. So I would expect the CS to get better in the next few months as we bring those back down to zero. I know it's slow, but hiring people and training them up is, it takes time for this.
All right. Farron wants to know about. Oh, no, go ahead.
Make sure that you tell the team what your thoughts are for Carryalls, and I will talk to the team about providing those in some fashion or another. So those are great. Those are great things to keep, to bug us. There's a lot of specific stuff now that I'm not sure that I can go into detail.
Martin, on your question about renaming kinships as a premium service, that is something we're aware of, and once we have a path forward to assist with kinship renames, we'll be putting that onto the forums and elsewhere. We currently do recognize that that's a thing that's difficult to do.
Yeah, kinship renames are done by hand, which means it becomes a really kind of thing that has to be touched by CS. And the reason that they're turned off right now is until our CS queue is better, and it is better, but I don't think it's where it needs to. I'm loath to add more weight to CS. I need that to get better. I think it will because I think the new people are being trained up and we're in a better shape than we were. But that's a long-term goal is to bring that up. So.
Deb wants to see Carryalls become more available. Not kind of. Right now we have generally the Lotro store or expansion purchases as the primary means to get Carryalls. Do we have plans to adjust that anytime soon?
I don't want to comment on that specific thing about store use because that then will become a
I haven't heard of any plans to change anything there, so that may just be the way it's going to be for a bit.
The 64-bit servers are in the works. Basically, what happened was we finished, and then there's some problems specifically with the chat server. So when we were testing the 64-bit server, the chat fell down and started disconnecting, and that's what we're working on currently with the 64-bit.
Yep. Yes, that's true. Most Carryalls are not available in the store, just the crafting one, as Little Redhead says. There's a couple of questions I'm seeing about a recent change and update. I believe it was 33.1 related to currency acquisition at endgame. That I know some players are not thrilled. They don't like our change to reduce acquisition of that currency. Do we have any thoughts about currency acquisition at endgame that we would want to share today?
I mean, if we want to add back currency in, I think we would do it in future content. But I'd have to look I apologize, as I recall, that currency change was made because it encouraged players to do unfun behavior. But I apologize. I don't have that particular change right in my head that I would feel comfortable commenting on it. Let me look into it and I'll get back.
Are the character creation options for all races? No, I don't think.
No, I mean, we'll put it out on the races that we can, but we can't just take character options and move them from race to race. First of all the races have different sculpts, and that just doesn't work and have it look good. And second of all, it's a tremendous amount of work. So I don't think that you will see these changes increase for all races at the same time. We'll do different kinds of, we'll hit the races as we go in the longer term. So if you're a fan of one of the races that didn't get hit, I understand it's hard to be patient when you're looking for awesome new looks for your character, but we can only do art so fast. The raid open tapping, we really want to discourage raid tapping on the landscape because the performance is a big performance hit for it. So I know that was hard, but and then we needed to back it out because we ran into a situation with raids. So I know that was a misstep. I apologize for it. And that is something that I do not want to repeat something like that, for instance. So, like I said, there's a lot of PvMP specifics that I can't go into detail on because PvMP is going to be an ongoing thing, and balancing any PvP is really, really. So,
all right.
The landscape difficulty system will be coming to the normal servers at some point, yes. We can't do a carryall of a carryall because
Nope.
the tech won't allow it. Consider it the C++ version of putting a portable hole in a portable.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically, Creepside is taking the brunt of the PvMP changes. We are aware of that, and so is the team members who are working on PvMP. And I do expect that we'll be seeing things in upcoming patches here.
Yes. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I have been concentrating on Lotro Remastered. I'm stepping back towards Lotro Main right now. And so there are a number of things like PvMP. Like I've been in the class balance discussions and the endgame discussions, the PvMP stuff I've let Orion handle. So what we'll try to do is, I think we'll try to get Orion on a live stream to talk about some of that stuff. I think that you'll get much better answers from him than you would from me. So, and I don't want to back him into a corner. So I apologize for being very wary about answering specific PvMP questions. The other problem with PvMP is that it encourages like tons of players in the same space at the same time. And so I really need to get engineering to do these lag fixes to make that experience better.
When am I going to buy a new TV? Someone really wants to know when I'm going to replace it. This TV's going to stay there forever. I have other TVs. Are you kidding me? This is just the one here. All right. We did talk to Laserbeam's question about engineering as it relates to game performance, and we do have work happening there. On the hardware side, we also have had some work done in recent weeks, generally related to back-end processes and systems. We'll get into kind of tech talk there, but we have been doing some hardware side work as well in recent weeks, and something I know that you talked a little bit, Sev, about how in the fall here, we may have an opportunity to open up a server for free transfers to and from, sort of an overflow server in concept and execution, where if things are getting a little rough on Evernight or wherever you happen to be, right, you can pop over to that, play with your friends, and then just pop on back whenever the time is right for
it. I do not have anything to announce about the Hidden Horde raid. Most of our people are working on the next big update in fall, and so they're not currently going back and fine tuning the Hidden Horde raid currently. But if there are issues there, then that's good information, and we can look at maybe looking at that.
Seeing questions that we kind of talked about. Oh, character transfers from the legacy worlds, the closed worlds. I know that it has been a long-term project that's taken a lot longer than we intended, but I know that work is being done on that here actively as well. So hopefully soonish we'll have something to say there. I don't know that there's a whole lot more we can talk about. We should wrap things up.
I mean, there's still some other stuff. So I know that people are asking about the VIP. So our plan is for VIP is that I think there's still a lot of value in that. There are a lot of services that VIP get in game that it's easy to overlook, but when you stop doing it, not being able to summon things, not getting the XP, there's a lot of stuff VIP, and just so we want to be careful that the VIP doesn't lose too much value. And in doing so, one of the things that we're exploring is having some of the things be just cheaper for VIPs in the long and shorter term. So that's one of the things that we plan on adding value to VIPs for. So yeah, we're not planning on doing lifetime subscriptions anytime soon. Unfortunately, I just don't have the capability and resources to put to move servers to Europe currently, because I know people ask that. Going through old content and fixing the reputation system is tough. With a team this size, we had like a large 100-person team. But I think that what will end up happening is for old content, revamping that old content is something that we can look at. Usually we look at that during legendary server time. So when we do our next legendary server, we want to revamp older content as the people are re-experiencing it. So that's a good time to ask about that if the legendary server is.
Someone wants to know about pets that are exclusive to loot boxes. We have done that, and they want alternate methods, I presume, to get those exclusive pets. It was just ultimately an e-commerce decision,
so
right?
It's an e-commerce decision. The idea is that you should be able to earn keys, some small amount of keys in game, and go for that. But once a pet has rotated out of the loot box, it's definitely possible for it to become available in our lock boxes, in other content when that happens. We'll look at that. We can look at something like that. Is it just me, or am I pausing a lot?
We have an active chat. We have almost 400 people.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's a
I'm
lot.
trying to
so there's a lot of you
fluently, but I'm reading chat at the same time, and apparently I'm terrible at multitasking. So I apologize if my speech seems.
I've seen a lot of questions on this next Hobbit race, but we just don't have anything we can say about it that I'm aware of. Sorry.
Oh, the Hobbit race?
Yeah.
I can't wait for that to come out next year.
Yeah.
We're definitely looking into that. So again, I don't have the capability of moving our servers to EU. Honestly, I think that most of the lag there, I understand that it's hard to deal with ping from EU, but I think a lot of your lag has nothing to do with them not being in EU and has more stuff to do with performance stuff on our side that we'd like to fix.
Here's a question. This came up, this happened recently. Supporter packs. What are our plans for supporter packs? We've got the first 3 that just debuted and seem to be pretty popular, and they're kind of a new way to get Lotra points, right? They're priced at the Lotra point bundles, as it were.
I think that supporter packs. So first of all, thank you to everyone who supported our company through supporter packs. I think supporter packs are kind of our direction. What I'd like to do is I would like to have people who want to support our company be doing so with joyful things like the supporter packs, and then make more stuff free. Like in the past, we've started making more and more things free. You can get deeper into the game and content. Some of the expansions were free. Some of the races became free. We'd like to continue moving in that direction. And supporter packs are a way of people supporting the company in a joyous manner so that we can make things free in different ways. That's kind of the strategy that we're taking. So if you want to support our company, supporter packs are a great way to do it. And because it was well received, we'd like to do another one. I mean, obviously, we don't want to put them out so often that the players feel as though they're, overwhelmed. But we do want to have more supporter packs. And when we have a new supporter pack, we'll communicate that to you. But I would expect to see that more in the future, because the better the supporter packs do, right? Like the more stuff that we can make free, and I'd love to move more in that direction.
I mean, we kind of have already teased to GQRK TV. Any tease of where we are headed next? We kind of already have said some things about that, but we're right on the cusp of being able to say a whole lot more. So earlier in chat, we did say a little bit, but
yeah, people were like, "We're about to do a big announcement that kind of aligns with DevCon. Don't tell them everything about that, so they'll be excited about our update." So if I seem hesitant on talking more about this new thing that's coming up, that's why. I promised that I wouldn't spill the beans, as I so often do when I get excited. So I apologize.
Is multi-threading an option? This has to do with those fancy newfangled server processor chips.
So our servers do have some multi-threading, but the issue is that if a server was not programmed with multi-threading in mind, and has a very robust lock system, you can have two things that update something at the same time, and that can cause data corruption. And there are some excellent engineering techniques in order to prevent that from happening. But if it wasn't programmed up front with that in mind, it's very hard to retro. The other issue is that sometimes that data corruption is very subtle and happens infrequently because of race conditions. So being able to retroactively test 15 million lines of old code in order for multi-threading to be viable is really hard. The interesting thing is, in some ways, our WSDL system, our language that we use that sits on top of the C++ layer, is multi-threaded in that it can give up its control of the code at any time if something else comes up. It's not exactly multi-threading as you might expect in C++, but it does allow it to go latent and come back. And so we do have some of that capability. I think our bigger problem right now is that the 32-bit servers are limited in the amount of memory. And once we go to 64-bit, we're all waiting for that to happen. That will happen. But the other thing is that there are these old systems that have loaded so big that they're causing performance community effect system requests. We really have to rein that in. I have, in fact, one of my engineers was pinging me on some of the stuff he found last night, which was super exciting because I'm a geek and I like hearing the specifics about the performance stuff. So I love hearing from my engineers.
All right. Sunshine Annie has asked a couple of times, or related people have, whether they'll be able to keep your names when you transfer off of Honor. So the way the system is set today is how it's going to work. And I believe that well, anyway, that's how the system's going to work. So whatever it is today is what it's going to be when you go live. So if you do encounter a name conflict, you'll get a -1 rename, and then you'll get a free rename token that you can then change your name by typing in /change namespace, whatever name you want, into the game chat and pick something. So whether you'll be able to keep your name depends on whether there's a conflict, and that depends at least in part as to how old the old character is that you're trying to conflict with, as it were.
As I said, for specifics on PvMP, I think that we're better off, having people talk to Orion basically through the forums, obviously through Palantir, and maybe we can lure him into one of these discussions to talk about it. I'm not really the person that you want to talk about that. I have enjoyed it in the past. I don't have the experience to make informed discussions about it. I do understand, though, that the Freeps feel is that they're getting just wrecked right now, and that we do want to. And that's something I can totally understand and buy into. So we can look at that.
Yep. All right, we just have a couple of minutes left, so please do put in your last questions if you would like to. Someone's asking about future of streams and weekly newsletters. The weekly newsletters will be coming first. We have plans to work on that really in the coming month or so. And so we'll have some more information about that in the near future. Streams will probably take a little bit longer, but I do plan to do something like a weekly stream here again at some point in the future. So,
since we have 3 minutes, let me just say something, because someone is specifically talking about endgame.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one of the things that we dropped the ball on is we shouldn't have had 3 updates in a row that were not that had nothing for endgame, and then have a big update at the end of the year that we're about to announce that has not enough endgame. I think this was a mistake. We should have had more endgame in addition to Hidden Horde ongoing, maybe another 6-man, maybe more landscape quests in the endgame. So I agree with you that there hasn't been enough endgame, and we really need to change. We can't pivot out what we're doing. It wouldn't help, because what would end up happening is it would delay this coming update so much that you wouldn't actually get more. So we do have some endgame, and I think the delving system will be a first promising start towards that and being able to get some of those endgame things you're looking for. And then rolling into 35, that will be all endgame focused is our current. So bear with me. I agree with you that the endgame situation is not ideal, and I think that one of the things that we should have done is had more endgame content. And I apologize for that. That really is our bad. And I agree with you that we should have more information.
All right. That's a pretty good last answer. I think we'll have a lot more about the next LI reward track as we get closer to it. That, I believe, is set for middle of August. So
yeah, I'm hoping that we'll get a producer's letter probably out every 4 months. I think 3 made them a little too sparse, and I think 6 months leaves people wanting. So maybe 3 times a year is going to be the sweet spot. And so I'm sure that now that I've said that on stream, that Cordovin will hold
we'll
me to
never
it.
have one again. Yeah, no,
We'll never have one again.
Yeah. No, it'll happen. All right, well, thanks very much for joining me here, and thank you everyone in attendance here for the chat. Everyone was well behaved. Went really well, and there were hundreds and hundreds of you asking questions. We'll have to do this again here in the coming weeks and months. So thank you very much, Sev, for joining me here today, and thank everyone for being in chat. Any final words here before we head things in the show? Head out?
Stay cool.
Yes.
Find a cool place to be, and at least if you're in our area, just make sure that you have an iced drink and stay cool.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Have fun. Talk to you again soon.